Good morning, YouTube. This morning we're in San Francisco, Cessna 172 Skyhawk in X-Plane 11. The weather's starting to look and feel, well, it's getting rather windy. I was out here yesterday afternoon just doing a test flight, and it was getting rather challenging to fly in these conditions. It doesn't look so bad this morning. But in any case, we're going to start heading south now. So I'm going to fly us back to Monterey. The ATIS for that airport is 119.25. And this is the aircraft that wouldn't start the other day, so we'll see if it starts up for us. I'll go ahead and start it now. And I'm using track IR this morning, so as I look left, look right, it moves while I look. Alright, 119.25. Bro, I did do it in comms. What am I thinking? Okay, so we'll wait till we get in the air before we program anything for a landing. We'll just program our flight to, well, let's see if there's a Monterey VOR. Looks like we could fly to 117.3 or SNS. It doesn't pick it up yet, but perhaps once we get in the air it will. If not, I'll program it in here and we'll get flying in the right direction. Our general bearing is 144 degrees and a track of 67 nautical miles. So we'll set the heading bug to 114. And we'll check magnetic north here, 21 and south. Not off by much, but a little off. All the lights appear to be working. It'll take me a little bit to get used to this, so you have to bear with me. And we don't need the entire runway, so I'll go ahead and extend my flaps and we'll leave from here. So I did kind of go have a look yesterday afternoon at the Golden Gate Bridge, which we crashed into in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Um, it would not permit me to fly under it, at least with the realism and crash detection on. If I turn that off, probably be all right to do, but maybe next time. Rotating. Flaps up. There is an oil rig out there to the left. Alright, engaging the autopilot. We'll get the vertical speed going of about 7. And there's no sense in punching nav yet, so we'll do heading. Was it 1? No, it's 144, not 114. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm still trying to get used to this track R thing. Landing and taxi can come off. Probably fly to about 5,000 feet, maybe 6. We'll probably pick up the VOR for Monterey. Let me look at that again. It's SNS, but we'll probably pick that up within 50 miles, if not sooner, or once we reach a certain altitude. According to the GPS, our trek does look good. Let's see if there's a midway waypoint I can plug in there. I could do San Jose, but it's out of the way, so I think I'll leave it be. Yeah, we'll just wait until we get SNS 117.3. Oh, there we go. We've got it. So we'll do nav. Let me switch this to 144. Right, and then nav. And we'll just watch to make sure this needle gets lined up. I don't know how. I mean, we could adjust it so we fly right to it. Let's go this way. There we are. A little cloudy. The windsock didn't look like it was doing much. Yesterday afternoon it was very windy. I just did a quick flight to test out the track IR. The track IR's kind of neat, you know, as I move, if I want to look, you know, like I'm looking above the dash, you know, it seems a little sensitive, but I haven't gotten used to it yet. But I can just sort of raise up a little bit, or you know, but yeah, it can go outside of the aircraft. So if I move my head too far over, see, and I could probably change the sensitivity on that so that it doesn't do all that, but then it's going to really be that much more sensitive when I go and move, I think. If I lean back, but if I stay in relatively the same spot and then just look left and look right, I think that works best. I'm just using the clip. It's on a hat. And every time I take a sip of coffee, I guess it's blocking the track IR, so it did that. Let me see. Let me try that. Yeah, it doesn't know what to do when there's a coffee mug in front of it. So, not sure if I like it yet. Alright, so we're just a tad above 5,000 feet. I'll go to 5,500 and then do an altitude hold. Alright, now let me just double check ATIS for Monterey and see what we can do there. ATIS says 119.25, but what I'm going to do is check at the approach plates, see what I have for options based off of our heading, which is a 144. Okay, now that we're leveled off, let me back this down to 2,500 RPMs. Okay, so we could do 10 right or 28. So I'm thinking 28 left. We'll have to go by it, come back, and I'm just going to look at it for the time being. Yeah, 119.25 for ATIS. Perhaps when we get closer. Alright, now with that being said, let me look at 10 right. That's ILS. I need RNAV. RNAV 10 right. Here we go. So if we choose that, we need to be at 6,000 feet by the time we hit Z-bed. And the minimum decision altitude would be 718. So I'm going to go ahead and program for 10. No, I'm not.
Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 3,300 scattered. Temperature 8. Dew point 1. Altimeter 2991. Arriving runways 28 right, 28 left. Departing runways 28 right.
Alright, so we'll do 28 left. Left, so MDA on that is 1080, an approach altitude of 5,100 feet at Hixar. I think we've made this approach before, Hixar, I remember that name. Okay. Let's go ahead and program that in. What is it, KMRY? I don't have it memorized. All right. Select approach. We're going to do the 28 left. RNAV, 28 left. And Hixar. We're going to activate it. And then we're going to fly to it. So we'll be switching this so it shows up here. We'll be switching this so it says GPS. Now if we click on this, the line, because it did it while we programmed it while we were in the air, should be direct to from where we are, our current location. And we still have the VOR SNS to fall back on for distance information. And that VOR is situated to the left of Monterey. Now the track IR does not work when I'm outside the aircraft. Seems like my quick views are gone for some reason. I wonder if that has anything to do with track IR. Like, how far if I rotate my head? How far? Yeah, that's not bad. Wow. Alright, what did I say? 5,100 miles for... Excuse me, not miles, but feet. 5,100 feet when we get to Hixar. So when we're in the hold, we can descend to 5,100 feet. Maybe we should, no, Hixar is the approach. We'll, once I get closer, I'll descend to 5,100. So it's a little disappointing to me that the Golden Gate Bridge and bridges or locations like that, I guess some of them are done up and explained. Like I said in some of my former videos, if you go to Sydney, Australia, you know, the bridge looks good there, the Opera House looks good, the city looks good, you know, but just to be able to visit someplace like San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge isn't there, you know, that's a little disappointing to me. And in order for me to get that, I've got to download additional content. And I have plenty of storage, but assuming you were to have limited storage, you know, exactly how much content would you need to download before you get the game the way you really want it? So now I could do that, you know, every city that I go visit, anything that I want to do some touring on, I could just download the content for that city, but that doesn't appeal to me. So in that regard, that's about when I like to break out Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and start flying around so I can get what I'm missing in X-Plane. But it sure would be nice if they had some mesh or blend between the two simulators, a crossbreed perhaps, where you get the flight dynamics of X-Plane and you get the visuals of Bing Maps, Microsoft Flight Simulator. But I don't see that happening. But see, if they were to collude in their projects, it could. But instead, they've got to do it individually, and in so doing, they've got two different breeds. And then the consumer pays for each. Someone like me, anyways. Alright, so I need to make sure that I set the heading bug to 2.8 or the RNAV landing won't work. I think I will do an RNAV landing. That's why we programmed it. Initially this morning I was going to fly to Tijuana in the Cirrus Vision SF50, but when I determined how long the flight was and the amount of time that I actually have available to me to fly, I probably could have made it there, but I didn't want to push for time, so I decided just to start flying back in the Cessna. I also kind of was curious as to whether or not I would get this aircraft to start rather. As it didn't start 2 days ago when I was aiming to use it. I ended up using the Cessna with the GTN 750 just to reset the aircraft, but I probably could have gone up here to the menu and just reset it. Reload the current aircraft. I probably could have done that, and maybe it would have started after doing that, but I didn't try that. I just went ahead and went to flight configuration, switched to a different Cessna, and it started up just fine. If you change the livery for the current Cessna, it doesn't actually change the aircraft or reload it. But if you switch to a different one, and I have in my menu, I have the Cessna 172 SP with the G530, I have the Cessna 172 SP with the GTN 750, and then I have the Cessna 172 SP with the G1000, and they're all different aircraft directories within my flight simulator. A typical install is only going to show up, well, you're only going to have one, Cessna 172 SP, and then within that folder you're going to have two ACF files, one that pertains to the GTN, or excuse me, the G530, and the other that pertains to the G1000. And therefore, when you load X-Plane, you're seeing two different aircraft. But in mine, I actually have at least, I have three different aircraft, Cessna aircraft folders, but that's because I have one with another GTN 750, which is double stacked. Alright, I'm going to switch outside so it doesn't bounce off of me when I take a sip of coffee. I typically wake up around 4, 4:30, sometimes 3 or 3:30. And it's not my intent, I'm just an early bird. I never need an alarm clock. Incidentally, our G530 is programmed for KMRY as well, which is Monterey. I didn't program it this morning, but that would have been from a previous flight that I hadn't deleted yet. I do kind of like being able to look up and over the dash a little bit. That'll come in handy for certain landings. Now you can do that with the hat button in the view. When you turn on track IR, though, the hat button no longer works for that. So I'm doing the hat button right now, and it's not changing my view at all. Now, I did notice it seems as though my quick view buttons... Oh no, it worked that time. I don't know why it didn't work before. There we go. My quick view buttons weren't working a few minutes ago. Let me see here. Maybe I have to be perfectly situated first. Well, that one worked, but this, I hang tight. That one works, but that one's not working. That's not working. That's not working. Yeah, it doesn't appear that my quick view buttons are working. So the only one of them. And that might be because it's switching over to my other view. It just remembers the last view and then switches to it. No? No, that's not it at all. Yeah, my other quick views don't appear to be working. So let me just set one just to see if I set it, if it works. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so maybe I just need to reset them. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about it right now because trying to move around with the track IR on and then resetting them, that will be, like I could do that one there. Set that to that. And then that. We'll do a center down. Back up here. Nope, not that far back. Okay. So I did a couple of them, and now I'm just moving around in my seat. All right, let me do one of the quick views and see if it took. Yeah, see, it doesn't. That's weird. Only that one works. Okay. Oh well. It was like it worked a minute ago. Yeah. That's weird to me. What the quick view will permit me to go back to the dash, but if I try to set it like right there and do a quick view for there and then go back to the dash, it doesn't allow me to switch over to my quick view. So I'm just going to assume that it has to do with track IR, or if I turn it off, all the quick views will go, well, they'll go back to whatever I just reset them to, but yeah, that whole thing with the coffee is annoying. Alright, let's have a look at the G530. We're getting closer here. So I'm going to go ahead and descend. We're still 18 miles away, but I'm going to get to 5,100 feet. And then I'm also going to change my heading bug at some point to 2.8 when we're in the hold maybe. So let's descend. I won't descend below 5,100. I am a little concerned about the mountains in front of us. Alright, altitude hold. Trying to teach myself that the upper one zooms out and the lower one zooms in. the weather hasn't been too bad this morning. Yesterday, it was a challenge for me to fly in the winds. It was blowing so hard. I was able to get the aircraft down, but as soon as I got it down, it was blowing me all over the place. You know, very challenged to get it to stop. I had to kill the engines, and it had to be hard on the brakes. Nose was bobbing every which way on the landing. I was at an extreme angle. Probably could have chose a better approach, but I like the challenge. So I flew against a crosswind, or flew with a crosswind, a relatively significant one. Excuse me. Let me switch here. So track IR is kind of neat, but part of me wonders what this would be like in virtual reality. And then I also wonder as well, if I did VR, would I still be able to record videos? So I'd have to research into that just to see, because that's one reason why I went with track IR. For one, a little cheaper, and two, I knew I'd still be able to do videos. And easier, you know, if you need to look to see if there's somebody coming or somebody on a runway, you know, to be able to turn your head and see a lot quicker and easier than trying to use the hat button or mousing over while you're trying to taxi. It's more realistic, you know. You look right and you're looking right. You look left and you're looking left, so it's done. You know, you're not okay, I need to look right, okay, let me do this mouse button, click and drag, and okay, everything looks good, okay, let me do the opposite. No, just a little bit more involved, and those steps slow you down, create more overhead, make it more of a challenge. Yeah, just having this mug in front of my mouth is enough to cause that little blip there. I'm assuming it's because it's a slightly reflective surface, so, and with the track IR pointing downwards, I'm reflecting some of that back, and it's confusing it. That's my guess for the technology that's involved here. But that's what I do, computers, IT, so I read into things like that and try to understand them without needing to know too much. But if I were to research it, I'd probably be correct. At some point, you just get to where you start to trust your instincts. Doesn't mean you're always right, but it means you're more often than not right. You are right more often than not. Alright, so we'll follow this hold for a moment and then turn, obviously, and then I'll set the heading bug to 2.8. Let's go ahead and do that now. Five, six, 7, 8. I can't really tell if I got that lined up good, but I'll check it again in a minute. And then once we get to the initial airfix and whatnot, I'll make sure that we're on the approach. Particularly, I'll be watching for this to select the approach. Once I see the glide path, I'll hit the approach button and make sure that we intercept it. And then if I need to, I'll hit the altitude button for the glide slope, aka glide path. And once we start our turn and head back towards the initial airfix, I'll probably go ahead and start slowing the aircraft down and prepping for landing. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the landing and taxi lights right now so that they'll be on. And I have buttons on my yoke for that, which is why you don't see me mouse over and click. Nice close-up view of the cloud there. We're just in them at this altitude. I wonder if Track IR would work with World of Warcraft, so I might have to check that out later. I don't know what games this would work with and which it would not. Let me look at the approach plate and see what altitude we need to be at for Igivo. Looks like 4,100, so I'm going to go ahead and descend to 4,100 feet. If I can get the aircraft to cooperate with me with the track IR. Alright, I'm going to back down on the throttle a little bit while we descend. Givo is 4,100. Hugon is 3,200. Let's go ahead and hit the altitude hold button here. We're just below 4. I wasn't paying attention to the altitude. I started looking at the approach plate. So I'm hoping by the time I hit Igivo, we should be in the descent at that point. So, but if not, I'll descend lower to 3,200 feet for Hugon. So we'll just watch VOR1 and see what happens here. I think by the time we hit Igivo, we should be good. I'm going to go ahead and extend some flaps just to slow us down a little bit more. I won't do any more flaps until we're on the glide path. Alright, we'll select approach. And then I'll be watching at some point to make sure that we get on the glide slope. When this is lined up a little bit more, I'll just be watching this to see if it automatically transitions or not. That's 1.3. This needs to be 1.4. 1.44. No, 2.8. What am I thinking? Five, six, seven, 8. There, 2.8 left, right? And I'm going to get us over there and lined up before I switch that. And I think I'll turn off approach. No, I'll leave it on for now. It's just following the heading bug, and I'm just trying to get this lined up. Okay, we should be turning in here in a second. That's good. Alright. That should be good. Now we just need to watch for the glide slope. I'm going to wait till we're right on it, and then I'm going to try to intercept it. Or click the button. But I'm kind of hoping it will auto switch. Why is this so way off? I don't understand that. We're matched with magnetic north, but we're not lined up. Well, we still have a couple thousand feet, so I'll just watch it. Maybe this is the one that turned us in at an angle. That seems right. There was a hill or something over there behind those mountains. And we had to take a little bit of a right-hand turn. I could also zoom in on that. see it's got us taking a little turn there at the very end. I think that's what I experienced the other day. I think it was here. Alright, I'm going to extend full flaps here, slow the aircraft down a bit more. At this point, I still don't even see the runway. I could zoom in, but I think I see it. I don't like our alignment. I kind of feel like I just want to manually fly it in. I'll wait till the last minute and then make a decision. So there's the hills I was talking about. And it might be that they make it impossible to be able to do a direct 2-8 left approach without actually coming in like this and then having to do a right-hand turn. And still be on the glide slope. I have no proof of that, but just looking at the angle and how high they are relative to how high we are, it's likely the case, which necessitates, a right-hand turn at 2-8 on final, and why the minimum decision altitude is so high. What is it again? 1080? Yeah, the MDA is 1080, so $1,500. $14. $13. $12. It seems like we're not lined up right. I do think that. I mean, if you look at the runway there, we must be getting some winds because we just hovered there at 11 for a few minutes or a few seconds. Disengaging the autopilot. Now I'm going to steer us over there and get where I want to be. Yeah, we do have some winds here. Well, you can see it's bouncing around a lot. That is not track IR. I'm pretty steady in the seat here. It's definitely winds. I might retract some flaps here. I don't like flying full flaps in the wind. And we'll slow it down a bit more. We are doing 2.8 left, which is good. It's the bigger runway, but it has that nice hill. I think when we flew into this before, I was in the Cirrus Vision SF50. Come on, nose up there. Yeah, we must have a little bit of a downward draft too. I feel like I'm getting pushed down some. Now that was a hard landing. Most certainly. Flaps up. Sure to get darker. And I'm all over the runway. Can't taxi straight this morning. It's the winds. In those special buildings that we could see the cars from underneath. Alright, this morning I think I'm going to park over here next to this big guy. Come on then. Alright. Alright, replay. A little further back there. We don't need to see all the winds, just some of them. Now I'm not happy with the landing. Slammed the gear down. But these winds, this is why I'm heading south. So I guess there are worse landings, but I'm still not happy with it. Let's see, we can skip a little of a taxi. So between the winds and track IR, there was a little bit of adjustment period here. Lights out. All right, YouTube. Y'all have a great day, and thank you for watching.